Hey everybody out there in the YouTube universe, this is Mr. Movie, back after a short hiatus to bring you some new content on what's in my collection. Today's video, we're going to be doing a top 5, but it won't be a top 5 by actor or director like I usually do. This won't be the top 5 movies in my collection that you probably have never heard of. I have a lot of movies in my collection that, might not be blockbusters, might not be totally the most popular movies, but they're in my collection for a reason, as are all of my movies, and it's usually because I enjoy them. I think they're great movies, and I like to try with my channel to suggest stuff to people that maybe they haven't seen before in my reviews, or my top 5 to say, wow, I didn't have that in my top 5 for that actor or director or genre or whatever the case may be. And you might say, wow, I should go check that out. So that's kind of one of the things I like to do. So I figured coming back would do something along those lines with the first video back. As you can tell, I love movies, and sometimes there are flicks that slip through the cracks that I'm a big fan of, and I think that if more people saw it, they would be a big fan of it, and it's a shame that more people don't know about them. So that's what this top 5 is all about. So it's the top 5 movies that you probably have never heard of that are in my collection. Starting off with number 5, we have In the Mouth of Madness. This is, I guess you could say, it's a horror film, but it's so over the top and crazy. I remember seeing this in the theater and was just like, whoa. And there's such great lines in it. Me and my friends still quote it to this day. It's a crazy movie because it's sort of about the power of media, not the news, but like books, TV, movies, stuff like that, where it can influence the reader or the watcher or the listener, or whatever it is, the medium that we're talking about. And in this, it starts off, it's like a author, and he writes these books that just really get to people, and it has a supernatural element to it, whereas the main character, well, not the main character, but the person who writes the books has a supernatural ability to infect people's minds with his ideas, and he writes horror, so people start doing crazy things, and there's this one guy who's hired by the publishing agency of this author to find him because he's disappeared, and this guy goes down this rabbit hole and experiences all this crazy stuff to find out that he's actually in the new book that the publishing house is trying to get from the author who's disappeared, because it's going to be the next big book, but they can't find him, so they can't get the book. But the book is the story of the guy investigating his disappearance. It's just madness, as the title suggests. It's just so crazy from top to bottom, and the ending is just like, it just blows your mind, because I don't want to give everything away, but now they're making a movie, and he's the investigator's alone in the theater watching the movie, and it's the movie of everything he's just experienced that just drove the world entirely crazy. It's a great movie, fun ride, pretty creepy, but you probably never heard of it, and it's really good. Coming in at number 4, another obscure movie, Brotherhood of the Wolf. This is a French film. If you don't like subtitles, like I don't, if you get the DVD, if you're able to find it, you can switch it up to English, and you have the old kung fu movie thing with the mouths moving. But if that doesn't annoy you that much, then it won't annoy you in this either. It's an action movie, sort of, but like a thriller suspense kind of thing, because as the title suggests, it has to do with wolves or a wolf, but you come to find out not really. It's France. I believe it's in the 1600s, might be the 1500s, and they call out this one particular province is just plagued by these wolf attacks, and they see it, and it almost has a magical ability to like disappear when hunters are like shooting at it right close up, or they say they hit it and nothing happened. And they bring in this guy and his partner to kind of investigate the whole thing and find out what it is. And it's very action packed, great, almost kung fu like scenes in the movie, because you get a lot of good hand to hand combat fight, because these two guys, they can kick ass and they fight a whole bunch of different people, and slowly but surely they're chopping through what is really going on. And you come to find out that the main person who's in charge of the province, their son, he was in the military, and when he went to Africa on an expedition, he brought back a lion cub, and he raised it to only listen to him, and he put like armor on it, and it looks kind of spiky, and it looks kind of like a wolf. They don't know what a lion is. They're in France. They've never been to Africa. So this thing kind of does his bidding and listens to him because he raised it from a cub. And that's what you come to find out is actually the beast that they thought was a wolf that's been attacking all these people. Action-packed, cool story, really good movie that you probably never heard of. Number 3, this has some bigger stars in it, but I think it's a very little well-known movie. Not too much, but it's called The Last Castle. Great actors in this movie. Robert Redford is the main actor. And the whole idea of it is it's a prison, but for the military. So if you did something wrong in the military, you go to this prison. And it's run not by the guards, the warden, they're all military people. And Robert Redford was a general, and he disobeyed an order to try to pull something off at the end of his career. And he thought it was the right move, but people ended up getting killed, some of his men, and he ended up getting locked up for it. But they, everybody in the jail, they really revere him because he was such a great military man. And but the warden, who you would know as James Gandolfini from The Sopranos, great, nothing like Tony Soprano in this movie, but he's a giant asshole, and he respects the guy, but he still runs it like a prison, and all the prisoners start listening to Robert Redford's character and not the warden. So they basically take over because they're being treated wrong. They're getting shot with rubber bullets for nothing, and some of them are getting killed. And they have an uprising, and they follow him like an army would follow a general, and they overtake the prison, which they refer to as the castle, and they do it in a strategic military way that he comes up with, but old school style, like how you would take a castle. And I don't want to give away the ending, but it's a great movie, great writing, great actors in it, and the story is just cool, and it gets you right away, and it's emotional because you really get behind the Robert Redford character, and you they're prisoners, but they did stuff in the military, so it's not like street crime stuff. So you kind of feel for these guys and the way they're being treated, and great story and good action, and it just comes together at the end, and really good movie. Big names, wasn't big in the theaters. That's why I put it on this list. It's not well known, but big stars, so you'll recognize the people in it, but you probably don't recognize the movie. So coming in at number 3 is The Last Castle. Coming in at number 2, this is a great movie too, Frailty. Matthew McConaughey, great idea, this movie. And Bill Paxton plays his father when he's a kid. It's him and his brother, and it's a creepy vibe. But the idea of the movie basically is the father. It's just the father and the 2 kids. The mother passed away, and the father comes home from work one day and says he had a vision that God told him that he would be slaying demons, and that they look like normal people, but when he touches them, he can see that they reveal themselves to be demons. And they, the kids think, one kid, who you think is the Matthew McConaughey character, thinks his father's nuts and he's just murdering people. The younger brother says that he sees what the father sees, but the other brother thinks you're just saying that to go with dad. to listen to what he's saying. And so later on, you kind of find out that what happens is that Matthew McConaughey went to the FBI and he's saying, listen, I know, because after the father died, the murders continue, and it's the brother doing it now. And he goes to turn his brother in, and then they kind of retrace the steps. It's shown a lot in flashbacks of when they were kids, of what happens, what leads up to the father dying and stuff. And then basically the whole idea and the twist is that the Matthew McConaughey character is the one doing all of this stuff. And the FBI agent he's working with, he set up the whole time so he could touch him and see the crimes that he committed so he could kill him, because he was one of the demons on his list. So it's a big thing, and he ends up being a sheriff in some town, and that's how he's going after all of these demons. But so it's got some supernatural aspects to it, and you don't really know, is this guy nuts and his father was nuts, or is this really happening? He's really seeing these demons and doing God's work. So it's a really cool movie, great concept, and the story and the action that happens, not big action, but the action that happens of when they're killing the people, going after the demons, and the whole thing, the intrigue with the FBI agent. It's really, really cool. Very little known movie by a big star in Matthew McConaughey, and you probably never heard of it. Coming number 2 is Frailty. Number 1, I love this movie, Killing Zoe. This movie, it's written by Quentin Tarantino, not directed by him. So, I love Quentin Tarantino, so I'm in. But it's such a cool movie. You might recognize some of the characters from other stuff, but not really. So the idea is you have a safe cracker from America. It's basically a French film, kind of. It's in English though, but when he was a kid, his friend was a French kid, but he spent half the time with his mother in the United States, half the time with his father in France. He was one of those kids. So they grew up together, and they both ended up becoming criminals. And there's this big job in France that they're going to rob a bank on Bastille Day, which is a big holiday in France. And he calls him over because they need a safecracker. And the night before, they go out getting drunk and doing drugs and all this craziness that happens. The next day is when they're doing the job. So the American guy wakes up like, what the hell? We're doing it today? Yeah, it's today. Let's go. And they just they go into the bank wearing masks, and, there's a lot of gunfire and craziness. And then, they thought that they wouldn't trip the alarm, but they're all drugged out and, all hung over and shit. And it's a crazy movie because they take over the bank, and what they're basically breaking into is this big vault of gold. And that's what he has to crack the safe into. And earlier in the film, when he first gets to France, the American guy, he calls up a hooker, gets the hooker, and you see when they're robbing the bank, the hooker's day job, she works in the bank. So she recognizes him as, he's a decent guy, what the hell is going on? And then the guy who was his friend, the French guy, turns on him, and they kind of get into it and fight, and there's a shootout, and just crazy cool Quentin Tarantino style bank heist movie. Great action, really good writing, and very memorable scenes. You probably never heard of it like the rest of these movies, but this would be the movie, especially if you like Tarantino, I would suggest the most out of all. I would suggest them all. That's why they made the list. But those are my top 5 movies that are in my collection that you probably never heard of. So I suggest you check them all out if you can find them. Because they're so not well known, you might not be able to find them. But if you can, I suggest you check them out. In most of my videos, I'm wearing shirts like this. Is a personal one for me and my channel, but made by my partner Dave. Shout out Dave. And you could get like 90% of the shirts that I wear on the channel are from our company, Futuristic Vintage. They're available at futuristicvintage.net. That's futuristicvintage.net. And he has some kind of deal because Dave is the one who runs all the shirt side of things. And he has some sort of deal that if you come from this video, you get like half off on another shirt. It's some kind of deal. You got to check it out. That's not my side of the things. I'm the movie guy. But really cool designs, a lot of pop culture stuff I think you'd really be into. So check that out, futuristicvintage.net. Thank you so much for watching. And if you want to see more of what's in my collection, I do reviews, top 5 lists. Please hit the notification bell, subscribe, and share with your fellow movie nuts. I have a lot of videos up you can check out. And I hope you enjoyed it. Thank you so much. This is Mr. Movie signing off, and I will see you again next time at the Flicks.